G'day, welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I'm TD and today we're unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to PSA to be graded. Got them back in this neat box, professionally packaged, so they got here safe and sound. Let me get them out of here and let's see what grades they got. Alright, let's go. Let's look at this 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Magmar, the number 51 card. Looking at this card, you can see the surface is very clean. There's no dirt, grime, or any problems on the surface or the graphics. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, is within tolerance from left or right. It looks pretty close to tolerance, might be slightly to the left. Our corners and our edges are very clean with no damage. Flipping the card over and looking at the back, you can see that our centering from top to bottom is still looks within tolerance. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right, possibly out of tolerance. Our surface looks really clean. I don't see any dirt or grime or any bends or creases. Our corners and our edges, our corners look pretty clean. There is some damage down that right side. And that's going to give us a grade of Mint 9. That's pretty darn good. Let's look at this 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Marowak, the number 52 card. Looking at the front of this card, it is very clean. It looks really nice. I don't see any problems with the graphics or surface. Our corners and our edges are very clean. I don't see any damage there. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think, is within tolerance. This looks pretty good. Flip the card over, and as we inspect the back, you can see that our surface is clean. I don't see any damage or bends or creases. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think that's all within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, I think there's a tiny speck of damage on both right corners. And the grade we're going to get is a Gem Mint 10. Wow, I like it a lot. Here's a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Nidorina, the number 53 card of this set. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that it's very clean. There's no dirt, grime, bends, or creases. Looking at our centering from left to right, I think it's within tolerance from top to bottom. I think it's slightly towards the top, but it may be within tolerance. And looking at our corners and our edges, I see no damage, and they're very clean. Flipping the card over and looking at the back, it looks just as good as the front. There's no dirt, grime, damage, or anything like that to the surface or the graphics. Our corners and our edges look really clean. I don't see any dirt, any problems there. Looking at our centering from side to side, I think it's within tolerance. Looking at it from top to bottom, it looks like it's towards the top to me, possibly taking us out of spec. And our grade will be Gem Mint 10. I like it, but I thought it should have been maybe a 9. Let's look at this 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Nidorino, the number 54 card of the set. Looking at this card, you can see the surface is really clean. Nidorino's graphics are nice and crisp. Our edges and our corners look really crisp and clean. There's no damage on them. Looking at our centering from side to side, I think it's close to tolerance, if not within, for a good grade. And looking at it from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the bottom. As we look to the back, you can see that our centering from side to side looks good. From top to bottom, I think it's again towards the bottom a little bit. Looking at our corners and our edges, the only thing I can see is there's a slight speck of damage on the upper left. And looking at the rest of the card, the surface is very clean. The graphics are nice and bright. There's no damage I can find. And we'll receive a grade of Mint 9. I like it. I'll take it every day. Let's look at this 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Parasect, the number 55 card. The front surface of this card looks very clean. There's no dirt, grime, creases, or bends. Looking at our corners and our edges, they're very clean. And looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think it's all within tolerance. As we look at the back of the card, our centering from top to bottom looks good. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right. Looking at our corners and our edges, they all look pretty good, except the two lower corners have some slight edge bending, very slight right on the edge. And looking at our surface, it's really nice and clean. There's no problems on the graphics. And that's going to get us a grade of Mint 9. That's pretty darn good. Here's a 2000 Pokemon Game Base 2 Persian, the number 56 card. Looking at the front surface of this card, it looks really clean. The graphics are nice and crisp. There's no dirt or damage. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think, is all within tolerance to get a good grade. Looking at our edges and our corners, just above the HP and the color symbol in the upper right corner, on the upper edge there is a slight dinger of damage. As we look to the back of the card, you can see that our surface is really clean. There's no dirt or damage on the graphics. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, left to right, I think it's all within tolerance. As we get to our corners and our edges, our corners look really good, but there's a ding on the upper edge towards the left corner, just above the P of the Pokemon. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 7. Not too bad with that bad ding. You're looking at a 2000 Pokemon game base to Poliwhirl, the number 57 card. Looking at this card, you can see the surface is really clean. The graphics are nice and bright. There's no dirt or damage. Our corners and our edges don't show any damage either. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think, is all within tolerance. As we look to the back of the card, you can see our surface graphics are really clean. I don't see any dirt or damage or bends or creases. As we look to our centering from top to bottom, it's towards the top, and from left to right, it's towards the left. That will definitely take us out of the 10 spec. Looking at our corners and our edges, the only thing I can really see is there's a slight speck of damage on the upper left corner. And we'll get a grade of mint 9. That's not bad with that centering being so far off on the back. Check out this 2000 Pokemon game base to Raticate, the number 58 card. Looking at the front of this card, I really like what I see. It's really clean. There's no problems with the graphics or the surface of this card. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I actually think they're all really close to tolerance. Probably, 9 or 10 grade area. Our corners and our edges, I think, look really nice. As we look to the back, you can see that our surface is clean. There's no problems on the graphics. Looking at our corners and our edges, the only thing I can see is some slight edge bending or rolling. Not enough to show some white or fray. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right, possibly taking us out of the 10 spec. And that's going to give us a grade of mint 9. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're looking at a 2000 Pokemon game base to Rhydon, the number 59 card. Looking at the front surface of this card, it's very clean. There's no creases or bends or dirt. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think that's all within tolerance for a decent grade. Looking at our corners and our edges, I don't see any damage that will affect the grade. Flipping the card over and looking at the back, you can see our centering from side to side and top to bottom, I think, is all good to go. From looking at our graphics and our surface, that's really clean. Looking at our corners and our edges, there's some slight damage on both left corners, but I don't see anything else. And that'll give us a grade of near mint 8. I didn't think all that damage was that bad. It should have been at least a 9. Check out this 2000 Pokemon game base to Seaking, the number 60 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see it's very clean. The graphics are nice and crisp and bright. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think it's all within tolerance. Looking at our corners and our edges, they're really crisp and clean with no damage. Look at the back of the card, and it's just as nice as the front. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right, I think, is all within tolerance. It might be slightly to the right, but I think it still will stay within spec. Looking at our corners and edges, they're really clean and nicely cut. Looking at our surface, it's really clean. There's no problems with the graphics. And that's going to get us a grade of Gem Mint 10. Man, I could use more of those. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget, you got to catch them all. Have a great day.